Hi everyone, Roger Dreyer, Fantasma Magic. We're here live with the legendary Harry Lorayne.
Legendary in my own mind, yes.
Well, Harry, we definitely love you. I remember first seeing you on Wonderama.
When I had black hair and was 6'2".
And talk about 6'2", there was that other crazy basketball player.
Oh, yeah,
it was
crazy.
Jerry Lucas.
Yeah, we were partners for a while. I put his name on a book I wrote. He had as much to do with that book as you did, Roger.
I believe it.
But listen, he was an important name at that point. Now, people say, wasn't it Dave DeBuscher you wrote the book with? Bill Bradley? They don't know who the other guy is.
The funny thing that I remember was it was Jerry Lucas of the New York Knicks that you wrote that memory book with,
yeah.
And I remember specifically that on Wonderama, Jerry went for the shot and
get it in the basket. It bounced. I threw it. It went right in.
Slam dunk with Harry Lorayne.
Right. But like I say, he had as much to do with writing the book as you did. But the promotion value was good then, because that book became on the bestseller list, New York Times bestseller list for like 58 weeks. So I guess it was a good idea of me putting his name on it.
So Harry, the usual questions. Who was your mentor? Were you friendly with Di Vernon, or who influenced you in cards?
That's interesting. You're on the East Coast, and there's one of you. Incidentally, I'm so pleased to see a brick and mortar, like Fantasma. This is great.
Well, thank you. I'm going to give him $20 for that line.
Okay. It's what I started to say. It's interesting. You're here on the East Coast, and you say Di Vernon. I knew him for 40 years, and it's Dave Vernon.
That's correct.
On the West Coast, they call him Di. I don't know why. His name wasn't Di Vernon. It was David. So it's Dave Vernon. Yes, I knew Dave very well. We spent a lot of time together. We knew each other for a long time. It wasn't so much that he was a mentor, but I guess he was. Look, friends of mine, I guess I'm giving away my age, was Dave, of course. There was John Scotty. There was Esley Horowitz. Bill Simon was a friend, although he's much younger. So a lot of the really big names in magic, yeah, I knew quite well.
And the usual question, what got you started in magic?
All right, do you really want to know that story? I come from the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It was a ghetto. We didn't have that word at that time, but that's what it was a ghetto.
Were you an immigrant, or were you born in?
I was born here on the Lower East Side, where I was born off the East River. Those days, where the FDR Drive is now, the Franklin D. Roosevelt Drive, there was no drive there. That's where the city dumped all its garbage in those days, and they would become mountains of garbage that petrified. They became hard, and that was our playground. That's where the kids played, on mountains of garbage, But you asked me how I got into magic. At Pitt Street Park, the official name is the Hamilton Fish Park, and there's the Hamilton Fish Library across the street, but we called it the Pitt Street because it was on Pitt Street Park. There was a counselor. I was about 7 years old, and he used to take care of the kids. We played paddle tennis and shuffleboard and things like that. Well, one day it was raining, and he had to take us all indoors. And this counselor, I still visualize him so clearly. I don't want to tell you how many years ago we're going back, because I was 7 years old. He didn't know how to handle the kids indoors, outside, gave you paddles and ping pongs and things like that. He didn't know what to do. He did a card trick. And that changed my life. He did one card trick. I was the shyest kid in the world. I'm talking about shy to the point of sickness. When I was in school, when I was a little kid, I was too shy to raise my hands to go to the bathroom. I don't want to go into too much detail about that, but it was like mother, like son. My mother was the shyest person. If she was on a railroad track and a train was coming, she would be too shy to yell help. So, like I say, it's like mother, like son. So I mentioned that only because I was too shy. When I saw this card trick, I said, oh God, if I could learn to do that, only I could do that. But I was too shy to ask him how it's done, nor did I realize that you don't ask a magician how to do a trick anyway. He's not going to tell you. So what I did is I went home, and the next day I stole as many milk bottles as I could. In those days, they were glass bottles. I lived in a tenement, and in those days, what you did when you finished the bottle of milk, you put the empty bottle outside, and the milkman would come take the empty bottle and put down a full bottle. Well, I stole as many milk bottles because there was a 2 cent or penny.
Or maybe you borrowed them.
Well, all right. But I'm being honest, Dave. The statute.
An honest liar.
Yeah. No, the statute of limitations is gone. I can't be arrested for that. But I had no money, and I wanted to buy a deck of cards so I could learn this trick. So I stole these, borrowed these milk bottles to get the 2 penny deposit, and I borrowed or stole just enough. I think a deck of cards was 18 cents at the time to get the deck of cards, which I did, and I came up with 5 different ways to do that one trick that I saw this counselor do. That changed my life. That was, when you say, how did I get into it? That started it. Because again, I had to tie in the shyness. I never made eye contact, Roger. I never spoke unless I was spoken to. It was that kind of shyness. Learning that one trick got me out of that cage of shyness, because now I had to say 3 words. I had to say, pick a card, right? So I had to talk to people. And like I say, that changed my life, and that started it.
And memory. What you've done in memory, I've never seen another entertainer do. And the success you achieved through utilizing memory as a means of entertainment has never been done.
Well,
what got you started on memory?
I can tell you how I got into that, because to me it's interesting. Okay, I thought magic was going to be my life. I was maybe 18 or 19 years old, and I was working at Billy Reed's Little Club. Most of the people now will not know what I'm talking about, but when I was at that age, there were 3 main clubs where people went late night in New York. It's not the same. Quite. There was the Blair House, the Harwin Club, and Billy Reed's Little Club. I got to work at Billy Reed's Little Club. I don't know if you want to hear the whole story. Richard Himba.
This is good. This is good.
Well, Richard Himba was a friend, and Richard Himba, he was the kind of guy you either hated him or you loved him. I loved him because he would give me the shirt off his back. I did things for him as years went by. I wrote a couple of books for him, the $100 billfold book and billfold, you know, because he came up with the Himba wallet, you know. Since then, I wrote my own book called the Himba Wallet book, but it was for Dick Himba originally. Anyway, he was the kind of guy, he'd see me in those days, and I wasn't making much money, and I was upset, and he said one day, he said to me, all right, Harry, what's the problem now? And I said, well, I need to make some money. I'd like to do table magic. I don't know how. He whistled for a cab. That was Dick Himba. He whistled for a cab, and he took me to Billy Reed's Little Club during lunch hour. And as we walked in, Dick Himba was the kind of person you couldn't, the only way to get him out of your hair was to get him out of your hair. You could not ignore Richard Himba. So when we walked in, he said, Billy, he would shout over every, Billy Reed was the guy that ran the Little Club. I thought he was the owner. I found out afterwards he worked for a few guys that looked like that, you know. He was the front man, the manager. And Billy said, Dick, I'm busy. He said, yeah, baby. You could not ignore Dick Himba. And Dick said, I want you to see this guy do a trick. That's which is your most important table here. And he pointed out a table of 6 businessmen. And we started to walk toward it, and Dick Himba said to me, Harry, do one trick. If you do another trick, I'm going to break your arm. Because he was very smart that way. I went there, I remember, I did a pea and shell trick, and I always change things. I did a pea and shell trick, it was a red pea. When it ended, the pea changed color to green, you know, which nobody had ever done.
Wait, is that in one of your books, routine?
No, I never wrote that.
Future routine.
I never wrote that up, because I haven't done it in the hunt since then. It's 100 years. Anyway, long story short, I got the job at the Little Club. Worked from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning, and at each hour Billy Reed would turn down the dimmer on the lights because he thought that was romantic. You know, every hour made it darker. By 2 in the morning, I would lay down the 8 of spades, and the guy's selection was the 2 of diamonds, and look, you couldn't see the funny thing. So we said, oh yeah, that's my card, you know. Anyway, here's what happened. You gotta remember, I was 18, 19 years old. And in those days it was finite, meaning I knew a certain number of tricks, and that was it. Now I can go, give me a deck of cards, I'll go on forever, because I devise as I go along, but not at that point. And it was a table magic thing. There was a card on the table, ask for Mr. Lorayne, blah, 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 hands, a magic 10, they called it, the 10 figures. And they'd ask the maitre d'. Okay, one day an actor by the name of Victor Jory came in. Young people are not going to know him. He played Helen Keller's father in the movie Miracle Worker, where my dear friend Danny Bancroft, may she rest in peace, played Annie Sullivan, the teacher of Helen Keller. But Victor Jory was a pretty well-known actor of his time. Anyway, he came in with a friend, and he was interested in magic, and he had me come over, and I did some tricks for him, and we got friendly. In those days, Orson Welles, everybody thought Orson Welles had started the idea of doing a play where the protagonist, the star of the play, was a magician. And Victor Jory said, no, I started that. As a matter of fact, he was traveling where the show at that time was a detective story, where he was the detective that did magic. So
Very
it's some,
interesting.
yeah. So anyway.